So I just wanted to show you guys kind of the progression of a few pieces that I've been working on. This was the first pouch that I slow stitched. It's a collage pouch. It has like a button and a little loop here. And on the inside, it's like a vintage handkerchief. This was like my first time really like sewing, I guess, something this big with all the different parts. So that included lining and applique. There's just like some sashiko kind of designs here on the fabric, beading, etc. So this was like my first go using just the fabrics that I had, as well as some pieces that I had picked up that I loved and I didn't know what I was going to do with, like this button. And so I really enjoyed the process of doing this. And so I decided to make another one, and this one is using tea-dyed fabrics, or some of these are tea-dyed fabrics. So I combined here many different fabrics and I guess beads. There's buttons. Most of this is vintage fabric. And on the inside, I've lined it with felt. And here I've done some blanket stitching around the outsides, as opposed to here where I was a little bit more creative with it and I just did some X's and then some like random stitching. So I tried to make this one a little bit neater. I think also I tried to match the fabrics a little bit better in terms of just like color scheme and like pops of beading and just little kind of accents here and there of certain things. I really, really love like these doilies, and this is like a collar applique for like a shirt. So I really liked using different materials in ways that like you wouldn't necessarily think to use them. This is like a charm from an old bracelet. So that was really fun for me. I also got to use some things from my grandmother's sewing box, like these buttons. This one's leather. This one was one that I'd been waiting to use for a while. And then I've also used some beautiful mother of pearl buttons. I also really like the closure of this. I just think that it is just really easy. This is also bigger than, oh, it's not coming out easy because I'm doing it with my left hand. Okay. So yeah, so this is quite a bit bigger than the other pouch, which I think is also fun. I wanted to play kind of with size and color scheme and theme, I guess. This one is much more kind of all over the place. I think it's also because I was using fabrics that I had while these were still in the tea dye. So I knew that I was tea dyeing a bunch of these kind of white or off-white fabrics, and I think they came out really, really pretty. When I did go to get some scrap fabrics, things just kind of started to switch up. So I bought this really cool, it's like a very thick fabric, and I had some scraps, again, an old metal button from my grandmother's sewing box, and then I've made this tassel from the fringes of, or like the pulled off sides, I guess, like of a different fabric. So I've made this, it's like super, super soft and very tactile, which I like. And then like I've just embroidered around like the shape, and I've put things kind of off center, which I really like. And I've also used the front of this fabric, which is this colorful one, and then I've made actually the majority of the pouch the back side of the fabric, which I think is really nice. I've put some trim on the back with some beads, and it just sticks up just a teeny bit on the top. I like the way that the linear kind of geometric lines play with these kind of wavy frills. And then on the inside, I have sewn down very strong Velcro, so it's super secure. I've sewn on a trim just around the top bit, and then I've lined it with just like a cotton fabric, which is really nice. It's like a dark kind of a gray color. And then I've left the fringe of that fabric open. I don't know, I just really liked the way that it looks. And then I've blanket stitched around the entire pouch, which I think was super successful. This again is like a very different shape. I am trying to use like most of the fabric. This fabric here is a synthetic fabric. I believe it's from India. It doesn't hold up very well, but it won't fray past the stitches, and I kind of just like the kind of, I don't know, roughness of some of the fabric, like the rough edges, and contrasted with kind of these straight geometric lines. Anyway, so I think this was a super successful attempt, I guess, at making another pouch. And then I recently just finished this pouch, which took me quite a while to put together. So I've used just some Aida fabric, which again is a little bit fray, but it won't fray past the stitches. And I've written the word treasures on it. And then I've added some metal findings that I had. This one is brass. It's like a moon, obviously. And then this was like a charm that I had sitting that I didn't know what to do with, and I loved it so much, so I did the sun and the moon. There's some vintage trim here, chiffon. I did some funky kind of embroidery stitches. These were scraps of fabric, and so I've just kind of sewn in the flowers, which I think was really fun, and I really enjoyed that. And then on the back, I've used a vintage handkerchief. I've cut out the initial that was in the center, and I've placed a heart in the middle with just some random embroidery stitching, another flower, and like a whole bunch of just little beads. I really like sewing the individual beads. I think it's really, I don't know, I just really like it. And then some chiffon on the bottom. And then when you open this up, I had been waiting for some mohair felt, or actually wool blend felt. And it came, and they're beautiful colors, but it wasn't long enough for this pouch. So I have lined the bottom of this in felt. Then I've added just a little bit of a trim up here with like a cord. And then I've used some of this synthetic kind of satin with this 3D kind of a pattern here. Kind of like it that you can see a little bit the stitches through. So you can kind of see a little bit of the process behind the front of this. And then obviously there's some vintage trim, and I've put just a little cord with a pink floral ceramic bead, and this just again closes around here easily. That's again a pearlesque kind of vintage button, and this one is also like very collaged. So I think there's like the simple kind of just, I don't know, less detailed, I guess, style, which I really, really like. But then there's also this kind of like surprising, like, oh my gosh, like what's on it, like what's next, like what, like all these different kind of things that go into it to make something like really detailed and beautiful, even if it does look, I don't know, a teeny bit like, I don't know the word for it. I was gonna say ungepatched, or like, I don't know, busy. But I think that that's also really lovely. So those are the 4 pouches that I've been working on for the past couple of weeks. And I have some new fabrics, which I'm super happy about. They are scraps, so most of this is sustainable, meaning I'm not like buying new rolls of fabric. They're all either from like vintage stores, from old curtains that I've cut up, old cotton napkins, supplies that I've had for bookbinding, like the chiffons and the metal findings that I've had for a while. stuff from my grandmother's sewing box, and things of that kind of sort. Also, the tea dyeing is definitely, you know, like a natural process. So I am trying to be as sustainable as possible in the making of these things. And it's also just kind of like a very slow process. It's like really laying all the fabrics out, then pinning them down, then starting to sew, then kind of intuitively adding small details and beads and layers. And then finally, I basically line that with an interfacing. And then on the other side of that interfacing, I'm putting in the lining. So, and then once the lining is in and it's like stuck down, then I start to stitch around the edges just to mount everything down more securely. I have been using the it's the iron-on, it's like the Bond Light, and I think I'm gonna switch to the Ultra Bond, just because I don't mind stitching around the edges, but I would like everything to be a little bit more stuck down in the middles. I mean, it's definitely attached, and I don't mind that there's like a little bit of room, but yeah, so I'm gonna try out some new techniques too. Like, I don't, you know, I just am learning. I'm a beginner at this process, so it's all just kind of like trial and error, I guess. But I've been having fun, having a good play with, you know, just textures, fabrics, like, I don't know, a whole bunch of things. And I guess we'll see also how they hold up. I've used this first one for quite a bit, which is why it's like a little bit funky. I've been like sticking different things in here and like using it and bringing it along with me in my tote bag. And it's holding up really, really well. So yeah, so I'm quite pleased with that. And these other ones I haven't used because I've recently finished them, but I think that they're beautiful, and I think that they're fun, and they're also useful, which is not always like super important to me. Like, I'm very into things that are just purely like aesthetic, like just something that you can hang on the wall just because you like it or because I like it. But these I actually think can be really useful for a lot of things. I know that I have like a lot of pouches around my house that I had bought in the past. So things for makeup, if it's for pens, if it's for pencils, for like my phone, ear pods, you know, little, I make little books, so like tiny books that can easily fit into these pouches. So I think that it's just kind of nice to also have something with a purpose, and that, you know, art can be purely aesthetic. It can also be purposeful. It can be beautiful. It can be created slowly. It can be created quickly. It can be created simply. It can be created in a more complex way. And I don't think that there is any right way of doing things. I think that it's just really about the process, and also about like the joy or the fulfillment that you can feel when you have made something that you love. And I know a lot of artists struggle with that, and I am definitely one of them, where you'll spend time making something and you'll be like, I hate this, like this sucks. And like originally that's like how I felt about this first pouch, but then you kind of I don't know, you become like attached, and you become like kind of proud of like, oh, I sewed on all those beads. Oh, this was my first try, like doing, you know, this thing or using this material. Or, you know, even if it's not perfect, even if it's fraying at the edges, like that's like, I don't know, that's like an imperfection, which is just as beautiful as if it weren't there. And so yeah, so I'm pretty pleased with the way that these came out, and I'm hoping to make some more and to play around also with technique and with different I don't know, just different materials. I mean, like this Velcro was the thing. I had to sew it down. It ruined one of my needles, but I think it's super, super fun, and I'm happy with it. And playing just like making a decision, like, okay, I'm gonna leave this side frayed, like, and okay, like it's not even and it's not perfect, but I love it. And even the tea dyeing, like I had tea dyed all of these or most of these fabrics, and I pulled them out, rinsed them, soaked them in baking soda, the whole thing, and none of them had taken up any color. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing wrong? And then I put it back in, let it sit for another day, and it turned out that they really did change in color, and they really, and even though it was subtle, it was subtle enough that I was like, okay, this did work. And so I think like I'm just kind of learning, I guess, about patience and taking my time and finding the beauty in imperfection, and feeling like connected to what I'm doing and what I'm making, and not really caring so much who it's for or what it's for, or how it's going to be used, or any of that really. It's just putting things together that I love and making something that I think is beautiful. And I hope that you guys feel inspired to make things that you think are beautiful, and maybe think that the things that I make are beautiful, and to just like create art in whatever medium that is, in whatever style you feel connected to, so that you can look at what you've created, and even if it's imperfect, and even if it's taken you a week or a month or 2 months or an hour or 10 minutes, feel like you've done something that you've enjoyed, and can feel proud of. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys all have a fantastic rest of your day.